on the phone. It's the Solomon Project, where it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. I'm your host, Richard Burns. I'm waiting on a surprise guest. Hopefully he got the message and he'll be here soon. He's coming out of retirement, y'all. So last night was crazy, right? I'm driving off. I'm in the middle of the parking lot where I was when I did my live. Yesterday's live. Whip It Out Wednesday live version. Hey! 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 Sup, Jared? Sup, pretty? Hey! And as I'm driving off, I'm hearing the air escaping from somewhere. I can't figure out where it's coming from. So I pull the knobs to activate my brakes. When I get out of the truck, that's when I saw it. I saw the electrical cord and both hoses got wrapped up in between the tires, and as I'm pulling forward, it yanked the hoses right out of the area where you're supposed to secure it. It's called the glad hands. Yanked it right out of the glad hands. That was no good. And at that hour, and thankfully the truck stop that I was at had a repair shop. However, they were not able to repair it at that moment. I had to wait till 6 o'clock in the morning for somebody to show up and get her done. Yas. Yas. Pretty right there. Okay, you do that, pretty. You do that. Hit me up. Those are the unexpected surprises that occur sometimes in the truck industry. And I needed to move last night because I had, well, I moved the delivery from today up until tomorrow, but I was hoping that I would already be in the Northeast, close to the delivery by today, at least today. Didn't happen though. It's all good though. It's all good. Of course, pretty. Told you I was gonna do it. Did it. Now you're in there like swimwear. Now you can look at other people, or you can tap on other people's comments, and you can go right to their channel and take a look at their channel to see if you're interested in subscribing to their channel. Maybe the content they have is something that you're interested in. Makes it that much easier. As far as trolls are concerned, I don't really have a problem with trolls. In fact, I engage with trolls often. I find them interesting. Sometimes. Yeah, I mean. But we are in the Northeast now. We're in Pennsylvania. Fill the tanks. Fill the fuel tank for the truck. DEF for the truck. And fuel for the trailer. So I'm stocked up pretty nice. I could probably make it to my destination without having to add any more fuel at this point. Fuel in this region is more expensive than other locations where I can travel. super hot where you're at. It's 83 degrees. Well, that's what the truck is telling me, that it's 83 degrees outside where I'm at. And this is all nothing but woods. I don't know how high up I am, because that impacts the temperature also. I can peek and see what my altitude is, elevation. 1,138 feet above sea level. So the temperature's not going to vary that much, if at all. It's when you're out west, around those mountains, up 8,000, 9,000 feet. There's a definite change in the temperature. But I'm 92 where you're at? Yeah, so it's 83 around now. Like I said, I'm surrounded by trees. It makes a difference. When you're in a city environment, there's a lot of material that collects the heat, like cement, tar, bricks, buildings, cinder block. All those things collect heat. So the heat gets trapped in those areas, making for an unpleasant experience for some people. Some people that absolutely love that heat, are used to that heat, come from that heat. So being able to be with it, they feel at home with that. But after living here almost all my life, where the seasons change, I got used to those changes in the seasons. So when it starts becoming hot, it's a little too hot. But eventually you get used to it. And then when it starts getting cold, it gets too cold. You know how it is. Stop playing. Positive. Hey. Hey, positive. A little something for you, positive. I think you're cool too. Look at this. Hey, you go, positive. Y'all don't have to worry about no. Y'all don't have to worry about no trolls. They don't really hurt my feelings. I have very interesting conversations. I find those conversations to be intellectually stimulating. They make me think. I hope Iguala comes in. I gotta bless him again because I made a mistake and hit the wrong button. He lost his wrench. So I'll be out there having conversations with people in the world of finance. People that I know, people that I'm friends with, people that I'm related to. What the heck? So funny, Bree. Huh? Huh? I didn't even bother asking. You guys hear me okay? Wow. I got 2 thumbs up, y'all. y'all hear me by any chance? You can put a 1 in or a 2. Any number. Let me know that you can hear me. Ha! Is that why you're laughing, pretty? Because you can't hear a damn thing I'm saying? Alright, now Positive is laughing too. Okay, there we go. Finally, some numbers. Okay, here we go. I was about to say, if I didn't see any numbers, I would have just said, ha! Would have drove y'all crazy with that. Look it. Yo, look it. Another 580 miles to go. But I only have 6 hours and 45 minutes, so I will not be making it. What happened? I lost signal for a minute there? Ha! I did. Lost signal for a hot second there. Hope you guys are scared though. But I got 2 thumbs up. This is big. This is big for me. 2 thumbs up. Yeah. 2 people watching according to YouTube. Yeah. I'm big time now. I'm an influencer. 2 people watching. Yeah. I feel important now. I feel like I can give people advice on how to navigate through YouTube now. With 2 viewers. 2 viewers and 2 thumbs up, huh? What you think about that now, huh? Yeah, you think so? Positive? You think I should feel important anyway? I like that. I like that. That. Feel important anyway, yes. I agree 100%. Everybody plays a role. And it's, speeding up. Pulled over. Yeah, the stadiums. This is like the 5th stadium I've seen within 5 miles. It's like a stadium mile. They're all on the eastbound side. I haven't seen any on the westbound side. Now y'all know when there's a car or any kind of vehicle on the shoulder, you do know that trucks are supposed to move over, right? They're in the right lane, they gotta move over 1 lane. Y'all know that, right? So when y'all be driving out here on these roads and there's a car on the shoulder or a vehicle, another truck, whatever, on the shoulder, and there's a truck in front of you, y'all know that truck is gonna try to get into that left lane, right? That's the law too. I know this driver that got a ticket for not doing that. Cop had somebody pulled over, but he wasn't able to move over because nobody gave him a chance to move over. Everybody blocked him. He did slow down, which is what you're supposed to do in the event that you can't move over. But as soon as the cop was done, that car that he had pulled over, he caught up to my homeboy, pulled him over, and gave him a fat, juicy ticket. Fat and juicy. We get big tickets. Like for y'alls who didn't know, over in Arkansas, if you fail the English test, they'll put you out of service and issue you up to a $5,000 ticket. Listen, not knowing English is not a moving violation, but that is an example of how they get us. In Rhode Island, there were some bridges, two bridges that trucks weren't allowed to go over. The crazy part was that they had the signs like 10 miles away from the bridge, but there was no warning when you got close to the bridge to remind you, hey, this is that bridge. Y'all need to take a detour so you don't cross the bridge. No warning, no nothing. Think you're gonna remember after driving 10 miles which bridge it is? You ain't gonna remember. One of the drivers at the company I worked for got caught going over that bridge. He wasn't looking very happy that day. They gave him a $3,000 ticket crossing that bridge. Yeah, when we get hit with tickets, those are big tickets, not little. Oh no. Some of these tickets come with suspensions and license, all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah. Following too close to the vehicle in front of you? Woo, my goodness. They will destroy you. I've seen trucks do it, but if they get caught, you can't have any type of alcoholic beverage in the cab of your truck. None. Whether it's new and closed, never opened before, no, you're not supposed to have it. You get hit with that, boy, you're gonna have to fight for your license. Even, let's say you pick up your sibling, your brother, your sister, whatever, and they bought themselves a bottle of wine, they can't be up in the truck, you can't give them a ride. They can't be up in the truck. If you put it in the trailer, you gotta have paperwork that states that you're transporting. Especially if you're crossing state lines. Woo-wee. Yeah. Cartons of cigarettes. You better convince that officer that it's for personal use if you're crossing state lines. If not, you're smuggling. Yeah, because if you're crossing state lines, there's some taxation business going on there. Yeah, they'll rough up your license. Is that another truth? Lord have mercy, another truth. Man, they're really out to get me out here today. Pennsylvania, I-80, eastbound. Lord have mercy. They are everywhere. This dude. Wow. Unmarked vehicle too. The only way you can tell is by the antennas. They're trying to get everybody. Yeah, positive. Tickets that we get, devastating. You're a company driver, like that guy is a company driver, that one that got the $3,000 ticket. That's like, back then, that was like 2.5, almost 3 weeks of work just to pay that ticket. Oh yeah, we get smashed. Truck drivers, yeah, they get smashed. They don't play with us. Time to start your day, you got to do your pre-trip inspection. Make sure all your lights are working, your wipers, that your windows aren't cracked, there's no cracks on the rims of your tires, that your tires are the tread is a certain depth, the sure you ain't got no gashes inside of your tires. And none of the equipment is loose. Everything got to be fastened down tight. Yeah. You got to do that every day. All reasonable. You're supposed to even go underneath your truck and your trailer and check the slack adjusters for your brakes. They really don't expect you to do that. You need to crawl it. Get up under the truck and the trailer and check all that. I don't know anybody who travels with a crawler. A crawler is that little plastic bed with the wheels on it so you can move around on your back while you're under the trailer. Yeah, they want you to check the slack adjusters. For the brakes. Jeez. It's kind of sort of crazy. Kind of sort of. Feel me? Two hands. Pop some pork rinds. So here's the deal, right? It's about to be 5 o'clock. Eastern Standard Time. I got 567 miles to go. I don't have enough miles to make it all the way through. I'm gonna have to stop somewhere. Get my 10-hour reset. Here's the problem. The most congested area I'm going to have to go through is New York City. And that sucker could be congested at 1 o'clock in the morning. Traffic at 1 o'clock in the morning. Congested, seriously. 20 miles an hour. So I would like to get through there at a decent hour so that I don't have to be dealing with a trucker's one of the trucker's worst enemies, which is traffic. And if I wait too long, I won't find a place to park. If you're driving on these highways, you might see some trucks parked on the on-ramp of a highway, the off-ramp of a highway, and in some cases, the shoulder. Those are not good places in Pennsylvania and Virginia to park at all. Not only will they ticket you hundreds of dollars, but they'll also put points on your license. You don't want points on your license. Not as a trucker. No way. Points on the license can mean that if an opportunity comes up to work at a company that would pay you better, they won't take you. You got points on your license. And for the company that you're working currently, they will increase the insurance premiums of the company that you're currently working for because you got points on your license. So it doesn't just impact you, it also impacts the company you work for. Yep. don't want you getting crashed. That's out. Up ahead with a truck on the shoulder with their blinkers on and their triangles out. I mean, the whole world knows that he's stalled out. And I moved over. I was supposed to. They were people that let me move over. That's super important. If you're a driver, if you drive a car or whatever, it's important that you know that. By law, we have to move over. You don't move over, and the cops see you doing that? Well, troopers or DOT. Hundreds of dollars. And bottom line, in this business, if you're a driver, the single most important thing to do is to preserve your license. Especially after you paid so much. After you've paid so much to get it, to like $12,000 where I got mine. $12,000 out of your pocket. You should preserve your license, I think. No? I think you should. Hit with a yo. Pretty. You hit me with the yo. What happened? You said yo. Yo. Because of how we get hit. Yeah, you should be looking at your mirrors every so often. Every 3 to 5 seconds. Check it out. Some drivers, they get pulled over and the trooper starts asking them questions about why they didn't do this or didn't do that. Some drivers make the mistake of saying something that gives the trooper realization that you haven't been checking your mirrors. They get themselves jammed up. And let me tell you something. I know the Northeast because I drove there for 18 years straight. The Northeast. They can check your logbook and they can determine what your average speed was, and if your average speed is above 57 miles an hour, you get a speeding ticket. They don't even have to clock you. They don't even have to clock you. They can just figure out your average speed, and if your average speed is above 57 miles an hour, you're getting a speeding ticket. And you know what else comes along with that speeding ticket? Points. Got it. Points. I'm telling you, man. Reach out on IG. XL_Rooster at Instagram. XL_Rooster at Instagram. Ask me why. Ask me why that name. Moves. Y'all know how I get. I go on people's comments. Y'all know how I get. Weird name, right? I-80 is nothing but up and down, up and down. Chew up your fuel quick, fast, and in a hurry when you're doing all this up and down. We're still on Yo? Wow. Why are we still on Yo? What's going on? Shit. Sometimes I'll be comments. They don't get seen. For some reason. I learned me a little trick too. Sometimes when comments don't pop up, I go to YouTube Studios and hit where it says community on the bottom. And I get to see comments that I missed pop up on the video on the YouTube platform. Right now. Going downhill, picking up speed. I mean, forgot what I came up with. Hopping to comments.
To find him guilty, you only have to find him. To find him guilty, you only have to find him. To find him guilty, you only.
Oh, shop your mouth. It's all gravy. That was a little clip from the Diddy trial. I don't really follow that trial, but people are intrigued by that stuff. People are intrigued by what celebrities do and don't do, and sports figures too. I gave that up. I'm trying to remember when. I let go of all that. Too much manipulation for me. Because I had a goal. My goal was a financial goal. And I knew that I had already figured out that there were so many distractions, there were so many things to captivate my attention and feed this being an impulsive consumer. So I made a decision to cut all that out. Stop concerning myself with celebrities of all kinds, whether it be music or Hollywood or sports. Kind of crazy because in the financial world, there are people who are very competitive in the financial world. And they like to show off their sports prowess. Like to show off who it is that they follow, how much information they got on who they follow, basketball player, football player, baseball player, soccer. Soccer is football to the rest of the world. We're the only ones that call it soccer. Yeah. Fun if you're in a car, but in a truck, you're just watching that needle on your gas gauge go down faster every time you go up the hills. And it's nothing more than a higher expense. That's all it is. About to do something radical. Downhill, high rate of speed, bend. If you don't know how high your load is, the higher your load is, the higher your center of gravity. So when you take those turns and you go through those bends, you flip on your side. I'm on a bridge right now. This is not a good place to flip on your side. It's like a 250 foot drop. And it has happened. It has happened. Some of these facilities you go to, you don't open the door, you just back up into the door, into the dock door, without opening or closing the doors. Or they stay closed. They open it from the inside, and when they're done, they close it from the inside. So you really don't get to see how tall your load is. When you're pulling away, you can feel the weight. After a while, you get an idea, so more or less how heavy you are. But with the weight, as it gets heavier, you're going to want to know how tall those pallets are stacked. It could mean a big difference when you're taking an exit. Heavy and tall. It could be an exit that you're accustomed to taking in. Might be going just a little too fast. That truck winds up on its side. That's really not good. You can get hit with all kinds of stuff. You can wind up paying thousands upon thousands of dollars. Especially if the load gets damaged. Some of these loads are expensive. Some of these loads could be $1 million plus, depending on what it is. Flip on your side. Damage the load, the cleanup, the towing. I've heard of towing fees that are in the hundreds of thousands. Who that is? Hey, Shots. What's going on, my brother? I got something for you, okay? you go. A little something, something for you, man. Show my appreciation and my love, man. Yeah, shots. I'm out here on I-80, Pennsylvania. Driving this here load of food. Set at 28 degrees. To the freezing range. Oh, wait a minute, I think it's chicken. I'm hauling chicken. The reason I remember it is because usually when you go to these locations to pick up chicken, them chickens stink, bro. They gotta bless those chickens with some deodorant so they don't stink so bad. Them chickens stink. So it was a processing plant in Arkansas. OK Foods, that's what it's called. OK Foods. They got another name too, but I don't remember the other name. Like Chapalapachanga or something crazy like that. It's no crazy name. I arrived at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I didn't get out of there till 1 o'clock in the morning. Facts. Facts. I checked in at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and checked out like around 1 o'clock in the morning. That's a long time waiting. Instantly mess up your hours of service. Yeah, I think I'm gonna. A little over sooner than what I wanted. I don't want it. No? I don't want to get caught up in traffic. 5:30. I'm a long way from New York. Once I get in New York, finding a parking spot, oh my God. You used to be able to park in the street along the side of the sidewalks, like if you were a car. The city of New York said, nah. You ain't doing that no more. You gotta find a designated area for trucks. New York City? A designated area for trucks? Better know your way around. Because if you don't, you might find yourself in a very tricky situation where you're facing a low bridge and it's a tight street. You gotta figure out a way out of that. You feel me? Yeah, shots at the death of 18 years, man, delivering to all those supermarkets in New York City, all 5 boroughs. Halfmark, A&P, Grand Union, Key Food, and you know where all those supermarkets are at. You know what kind of locations they're at. Those are not comfortable places for tractor trailers to move in and out. You already know that. Emporia, Kansas, yeah, I've been there. It smells like holy hell, yeah, it does. Yeah. Yeah, they be stanking. Yeah, man. Yeah, shots. I've been doing this since 98. Since 1998. I was delivering to Grand Union. Grand Union ain't around anymore. AMPs aren't around anymore. Pathmarks aren't around anymore. I delivered to those smaller supermarkets that Dominicans own, unloading out in the street and all that. One time I got clipped in the leg by a cab while I was unloading my truck. I had the pallet already on the floor. The light had just turned green. The homeboy took off and clipped me in the leg. Man, that thing, my leg was sore, hurting like crazy. I was limping for like about 2 weeks. I didn't think my leg was broken, because usually when you break a bone, you can't move that. You can't move your feet or your hands, wherever your bone is broken, you can't move that area. Yeah. Grand Union is done. There was a supermarket chain in Long Island I used to deliver to too. The name started with the letter S. I don't remember. But there was some smaller chains out in Long Island and in Brooklyn. And in Brooklyn there was by Fulton. Brooklyn by Fulton. There was this one, was it the Pathmark? I think it was a Pathmark. You had to set yourself up on a one-way street and back into a building blindside. Man, I can't tell you how many times I got into it with the drivers. Because they don't want to give you a break. Same thing in Manhattan. On 8th Avenue, between 42nd and 43rd, I had to back into a building like around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, man. You know how the traffic gets over there, because you drive into Manhattan. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I gotta back up a tractor trailer into a building. Blindside on 8th Avenue. The people don't care. The cars don't care. Where was you at, pretty? These people don't care, man. You're trying to back up. You're blocking traffic. People are mother effing you, threatening you, kicking your truck, all kinds of stuff. You gotta be ready to throw hands in the city, man, because they get stupid with it. Lose your temper, you start yelling at people, yelling all kinds of profanity to people. Well, at least I did. Maybe some of the folks that were from the warehouse I worked out at, maybe they didn't do that. Because they're not, they grew up in the suburbs. Although you got some tough characters, but under those circumstances, they may not just lose it. Kind of sort of crazy. Who that is? Oh, you see? Straight out of the DMV. That's how you identify everybody? The DMV? What does that stand apartment, a motor vehicle. What are you referring to, buddy, when you say DMV? Delaware, Maryland, something. It's right, Delaware is right next to the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. Is that what that stands for? Nikki P, yay! That's family right there, Nikki P. Nikki P cracked the whip on me when I first arrived to the family. Got a Facebook family. I kept messing up because I didn't know the proper procedures. They were teaching us all kinds of stuff there. And me not being tech savvy, I was doing some exercises there and I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Making people there cracking that whip. Which I appreciated very much because I learned to do things with my channel that I would have never done before. So now I feel like, I don't know, I feel like an influencer now. Word up. Thanks, Nikki B. That like button, right? I see 4 for 4. Should I have more, you think? Hit that like button. Word. Like and subscribe, y'all. Like and subscribe. I appreciate what that family did for me and Facebook family. They turned me into an influencer. What? What? Yeah. The lessons are thorough up in there. For real. I got invited there. I was all timid. I looked like Timid the Frog up in there. Doing stuff all wrong. And here comes Nikki P. Boy. I kept hearing sound effects like I was in a kung fu movie. I was getting chopped up. Now, I'm a better content creator thanks to Nikki. Hey Nikki, thanks. I feel like I'm in the big time now. Those lessons, that was what I was taught. My camera, come to find out I had a decent camera. I wouldn't have known that. Because there was one day we all had to reveal what kind of cameras we were using. So I busted out my GoPro Hero 9. Some people went so far as to go, ooh. GoPro Hero 9, y'all. Oh, I liked it. That, Nikki. That's right. On my channel, when you come through, it's not how much you make, it's how much you keep that counts. I got that phrase from my father, who was somebody I never suspected in the world that would hit me with something like that, because that's all about finance and business. Even though his mother, his cousins, Everybody on my father's side, on my grandmother's side of the family, they're all about business. These people are wealthy business owners. But my dad chose academia. He decided to become a chemical engineer instead of following what the rest of his family was, which were business people. And again, they were wealthy. No, they're still wealthy. My dad became a government official, college professor, deputy commissioner of the school system. He wore a lot of hats. I thought he wore a lot of hats because he was balding, but no. Oh, you enjoy my family's stories, Nikki? That is a true statement. Second day I have heard that in a row. What's that, Shots? Oh, pretty. You want to know what I'm about? What I'm about? I could sum it up this way. I was, oh, my phrase, okay. Yeah, that came from my father. That shocked me. My father was always on my case about academics, about school. He used to get ridiculous, I'm gonna tell you right now. I'll be in junior high school and he's asking me college level math questions. And when I didn't have an answer for him, he'd be so disappointed. He'd start talking trash about the school system here. And I'm looking at my father like he's crazy. I'm like, yo, what are you talking about, bro? You're asking me college level questions. What? Boy, shut your mouth. You should know the answers to these questions I'm asking. The hell? Yeah, he was big on that. And I turned out to be a terrible disappointment. Let me see. I had two sisters and a brother that came along with us to New York. My father was targeted for assassination by the president. And my brother, thank you, Nikki, thank you. I wish my dad were alive so he could read that. Ha! So I can rub it in his face. See that? I got peoples. Just saying, I'm not a disappointment. But to him, I was. He had high expectations. Like my older brother, for example, he graduated top 3 in his high school. Understand that when he got here, he got here at age 14, went to junior high. English is not our language. So he got here at age 14. So he was in junior high school. And by the time he graduated high school, he was top 3 in his class academically. And as far as sports was concerned, he was captain of the baseball team, of the football team, of the gymnastics team. So my brother excelled physically and academically. My sister also excelled. She was in gymnastics, volleyball, graduated top 5 in her high school. In the meantime, even though I tested for specialized high schools and got into them, specialized high school for intellectually advanced kids, I passed the class. Hey, I didn't even believe I passed it. When the results came in, all my classmates were bugging out. Everybody's mouth was left wide open. So was mine. And I didn't last 1 year at the high school that I wound up going to that I wound up choosing, which was Bronx High School of Science, I got kicked out because I wasn't going to school. I was going down to Times Square, hanging out, going to those game rooms and playing games all day and trying to sneak into those kung fu movie theaters. They used to have 3 or 4 movies for like $2.99, but I didn't have $2.99. I blew it all in the machines. But I would try to sneak in. Yeah. My dad he for our system here, he would have been locked up instantly, but that didn't stop him. He put that same older brother that graduated top 5 in his class, he almost killed him. He beat him real bad. He put him in a burlap sack and beat him real bad. He wound up in intensive care from that beating. My mother had to leave me in Puerto Rico so she could come tend to my brother in the hospital from the beating he got from my father. And that was just from playing 1 day of hooky. That's all that was. Yeah. Corporal punishment back home was severe, was serious. They did not play in the Dominican Republic when my dad, when my older siblings were around. The regime, the Trujillo regime, nah, they didn't play. You are responsible for your child. If your child misbehaves, you better check them. Because if you don't check your child, they will check you. They will lock you up and torture you. Torture you. Okay? They would take men and they would take electrical wires and put them on their testicles and shock them with it. That's just one form of torture that they used to use. Yeah, they didn't want to hear it. The regime, no, nothing like here. Nothing. Back then, you can take your child's life, and you can justify it by saying, they're out of control. The regime won't do nothing. Cops won't do nothing. And back then, the cops were judge, juror, and executioner. They could smoke you right there in the street. In 1968, Nikki. 1968. In 1965, there was a civil war. My mother was allowed to leave because she was 8 months pregnant, so I was born in Puerto Rico. So I was there for a year before I was sent back to the Dominican Republic. But my mother went way ahead of me. She left me with my oldest sister. But she left way ahead of me because of what happened to my brother. Dad almost killed him. So I'm back, but I'm not living with my parents. I'm living with my grandmother from my mother's side, and with my aunt and my uncle, my mother's sister and her husband, who I used to identify as mom and dad. I never called them by their name. I called them mom and dad. So my dad helped his friend, who used to be above him in the Department of Education, who was the top dog of the Department of Education, and my father was the number 2 man, and they were good friends. But my dad helped his friend to become president, and when he did, my father was expecting to become commissioner of some department, primarily the Department of Energy. He didn't get it. He gave it to some military guy who had no qualification whatsoever to assume that post. And my dad was upset about that, but that's not what got him to the point where he went and did what he did, which put him on the hit list. So that very military guy, I'm guessing that he felt that his position was threatened because he knew that the president and my father were friends, and that my father had all the requisites, all the requirements to head the Department of Energy. So he started fabricating stories about my father. My father found out about it, but I think what bothered him the most was that he thought that his friend was believing this clown. So because he thought that, he took a group of people over to Puerto Rico and plotted to overthrow the government. Of course, his homeboy, the president, found out that he wasn't having that. So he put my father on the hit list. And thankfully, my mother's cousins were all generals and colonels. One of them gave my mom a phone call and let her know, listen, this dude is on the list. I advise you guys strongly to get the hell up out of here. And that's exactly what they did. They took me along, of course, because I'm an American citizen. I was born in the United States. And so we wound up in Washington Heights, 168th Street in Amsterdam, not too far from where Malcolm X was assassinated, like maybe a block or two away from where he was assassinated. And my dad had a hard time getting used to, I don't think he ever got used to the lifestyle here in the United States, because it was very different. You know, my father had become a member of the upper class. The system, the social system was different from what it is here. We wound up in a poor neighborhood, different attitudes. People were doing things that they would never get away with back in Jamaica. Never get away with stuff like that. And my father was disappointed about that. My father was the type of guy that believed that law enforcement was something that you had to respect regardless. You didn't question them. You know, if they asked you for your license, registration, and insurance, you just hand it to them. You don't. If you ask why you were pulled over, as far as my dad was concerned, you gave them the green light to beat the snot out of you, and it was justified as far as my father. He was a disciplinary, big time. Now, in some cases, they go after the whole family, but in my father's case, I don't think so. In my father's case, I think they would have just gone after him. But how would my mother have been able to sustain us? That's a male-dominated society. And for my mother to be able to find work, that would have been very difficult. At that time, how many of us were alive? I think six out of 14 of us were alive. My mother gave birth to 14 children. And there were 10 boys and 4 girls, and she lost 8 boys. They were much older than me, but she lost them when they were like toddlers. Between the ages of like 3 and 6, she lost them. They passed away. So with 6 kids, it would have been difficult for her, very difficult. Yeah, and had you met my mother, you would have never known she went through that. Never. You would have never known. She didn't allow that to how should I say it? She didn't allow that to affect her at least on the surface. Which is interesting because I was on a live on Mother's Day. Yeah. I was on a live on Mother's Day, and the person who had the live didn't want anybody wishing her a happy Mother's Day because the only child she gave birth to passed away when she was 6 years old. Her only daughter passed away when she was 6 years old. So that's a really terrible day. And it dawned on me on that live, because years go by. Not only did I wish my mother, all of us wished our mother a happy Mother's Day in the U.S. Day of Mother's Day, but also the Dominican Day of Mother's Day, which is a different day. And it dawned on me at that moment when I'm on that live, holy smokes, I've been wishing my mother every year a happy Mother's Day, not even considering how she felt about losing my eight brothers. Didn't even dawn on me. By wishing her a happy Mother's Day, did that impact her? How did that make her feel? Did she even think about that? Well, she's gone now too, so I can't ask her. I won't be wishing her any more Mother's Days. Yeah, life be life. Life be life, that's for sure. But my mother did very well here in the United States, extremely well. I got to look at one of my mother's pay stubs. I think it was October of '81. And this woman had already cleared $100,000 in '81. What she made for the year was the equivalent of $600,000, more than 600, like $633,000 in today's money. My mother made back in '81. That was a head scratcher. Well, I didn't know she was a fashion designer for Liz Claiborne, which explains why she was making that much money. But we're talking about a woman. Yeah, it was a great move for her, and being that this is not a male, not anywhere near as much of a male-dominated society. I guess my mom felt a lot, because my mom has a strong character, and in my home, which I think I mentioned before, helped shape my perception of women, because my mother and my father I always saw as equals. By the way, when I arrived here, I used to call my parents by their first name. I never called them mom and dad until my older brother and sister beat it into me to refer to them as mom and dad. Remember, when I left Puerto Rico to go to the Dominican Republic, I was referring to my aunt and my uncle as mom and dad, not my parents. I wasn't even around them. It wasn't until I got to New York in '68 that I was around them, but I was called them by their first name. And my siblings weren't happy, so they slapped fire out of my mouth until I got it right. You want to get your butt whooped, no questions asked, by siblings, aunts, uncles, grandparents. Everybody will pound you out. You refer to your parents by your first name. It's like being in a room with a DJ and the record scratches and everything stops. You said what? You know, oh. Oh, my signal's breaking up. How about now? Is it better? Going through this mountainous area in Pennsylvania. Is the signal back? Let me know if the signal's back. Okay. Yeah, so like I was saying, I don't know if you heard this part, but yeah. In our culture, you call your parents by their first name. Everybody's participating in your ass whooping. Everybody. Your neighbors, your cousins, your aunts, uncles, grandparents, brothers and sisters. Everybody's whooping your ass. Everybody. That's a no-go. Yeah, my aunts, uncles, everybody, they'll whoop your ass. Oh, so maybe it was this, that when I went from Puerto Rico to Dominican Republic, I just stayed with my grandmother, my aunt, and my uncle, and I didn't have any contact with my parents, so I didn't know my parents as my parents, and I used to refer to my aunt and uncle as mom and dad. When I got to New York, I stayed calling my parents by their first name until my brother and sisters whooped that right out of me. I started referring to my parents as mom and dad. Down there, back home, everybody can discipline you. Your teachers can whoop your ass. Your cousins can whoop your ass if they're older. Your aunts, your uncles, they can whoop your ass. Your grandparents can whoop your ass. Everybody can whoop your ass. If you get it twisted, and if they did whoop your ass, my father would be right there thanking him. Thank you for whooping his ass. My mom had this way back in the Dominican Republic. If I wasn't alive at this time, but my older siblings were telling me that I was lucky because if my mom got upset with one of them, my dad would come home and she wouldn't say a word. She would just point to whoever it was, and my dad would just go straight over there and whoop their ass. After he was done whooping their ass, he would ask her, hey, what they do? Should have asked before you whooped their ass. It may not have required such a severe ass whooping. But now that you know the kids here in America, they many. Listen, I'm gonna tell you something. The beatdowns that we got from my father were severe. Okay? Like I told you, for playing hooky one day, my brother almost lost his life from the beatdown he got from my father. Right? He wound up in intensive care. My sister, one of my sisters, she didn't follow protocol. And the protocol is when my father sends you off to do something, to take care of something, like go to the store or whatever, you go, get it done quickly, and get back quickly. Okay? You just get it done. So my sister decided that because she got everything else done quickly enough, she stopped in front of the house and talked to her little friends. And when my father saw that, that set him off. As she was coming into the house, he probably asked her, because he always does, what were you doing just now? That was your cue. You're getting it. And sure enough, she got it. He knocked her tooth out. He punched her so hard, he lifted her up off the ground and knocked her tooth out for that. Right? And you would think that having a father like that, we would be afraid of him, but we weren't afraid of him. Whenever we had family gatherings, we would mock him. We would make fun of him. He allowed for that. And he would allow for debate too. He would allow you to debate him. But just don't get carried away. You know, don't start getting heated and using foul language, because he will bust your mouth wide open. But he allowed you to express your opinion, yeah. But I can't. I know I was I caught some pretty decent beatdowns. But the only time I was afraid when he warned me that I didn't follow protocol. Ha! Then I knew, hey, wait a minute, Dad. Like this one time he punished me for the whole summer. I don't know what it was, but I was not allowed to hang out outside for a whole summer, and it was full. Okay, so I'll wait for Nikki to come back and I'll tell you this story. But yeah, I wasn't afraid of my dad. I know that the sister got her tooth knocked out. She was definitely not afraid of my father. In fact, she used to square up again in front of him. It was kind of wild. But in family gatherings, nobody was expressing fear. So long as they did what they were told and didn't get carried away or out of line, you know, maybe he'd take the belt to you, but that was, you know. You gave your mom hell shots? Yeah, listen, especially in the city, because you're from the city. Look, being a young male in New York City at the time that Shots and I grew up there, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy. You had to survive, and there were a lot of crazy characters when we grew up. A lot of dangerous characters. You had all kinds of gangs. And you may not be doing nothing crazy, but some of these people that lived on your block or close to you or went to school with you or whatever the case is, you don't know what the hell they were into. And they could be attracting people who wanted some get back. And that get back sometimes meant that somebody was going to be taken out. Even in high school, you had dudes showing up with weapons. You had dudes showing up with pew-pews. And at the high school I attended, after I got kicked out of Bronx High School of Science, at the high school I attended, as customary as it is during Halloween, you know, eggs get thrown, people get hit. This one dude got hit. It hit his shoe. He didn't care for that. Came back the next day. Pew, pew, pew. Took the dude out that threw the egg. Gone. Just for that. On the train, it was the one train on my way to school. A man dressed in a suit with his attaché case on his way to work was walking through the train car and just brushed by some kid's sneaker. I think he had some Pumas or something. And just for that, the kid pulled out a knife and took this guy out, unalived him for that. Just for brushing by his sneaker. Shots probably remembers. Alright, Nick, I'll tell the story. Shots probably knows people. He can verify. If you couldn't walk around with a sheepskin coat, an 8-ball jacket, a leather bomber, Cassell frame glasses, you couldn't walk around with that by yourself. You have to have a team with you. You have to have an entourage with you if you wear that. Because they would unalive you just to take that off you. It was crazy. It was crazy. The neighborhood I lived in, one of the neighborhoods that I lived in, the 46th precinct covered that area. The New York Times came out with a report. The 46th precinct covered 1 square mile, and in that 1 square mile, we had the highest homicide rate for 3 consecutive years and beat out every major city in the country in that 1 square mile. Think about that. So we beat out Philly, DC, Detroit, Chicago, LA, Miami, Atlanta, Houston, all Dallas, all those cities. We beat all those cities in that 1 square mile for 3 consecutive years. 1 square mile. The homicide rate was ridiculous. And it was always a back and forth between the Bronx and Brooklyn. Always a back and forth between those two. It's like they were competing to see who was the worst. I think Brooklyn was the worst. Shots? Don't hate me. Yeah. Even to go buy that stuff, even to go buy those coats, those sneakers, the shell top Adidas with the fat laces, you can get taken out just for that. Hey, Source. The Pele Pele coats, yeah. The Pele Pele coats, yeah. It's insane. I don't know why they have that mentality. It really is. It's crazy. I lived in a project. Okay, so our projects in New York City are usually like a cluster of like 10 to 20 buildings, and they're like anywhere from 10 to 20, 25 stories tall. So you got a high concentration of low-income people in a small area. All right? Neighborhoods, they don't own a damn thing. Yeah, they don't own a damn thing. And so here I am. So in my household, my parents have a certain way of raising me, which was very different from the world I had to engage with once I left my house. Once I left my house and on my way to school, I had to deal with a different set of circumstances, socially, different. Oh yeah, Source, I got it working. This morning, at like around 8:30 in the morning, finally we got somebody to go out there and take care of it. But you know what? It's funny, Source, because while my truck couldn't move, I was pretty much in the way, and there were trucks that were having a hard time getting through, and they were getting upset. They were knocking on my door, waking me up every hour. So I really didn't get good sleep. Knocking on my door, you know, flipping the bird, mother effing me, all this other stuff, until I pointed to the problem, then they realized and they apologized and kept it moving. But that constant knocking on the door, see, that was the one thing. That was one thing with the lot lizards. Y'all know what a lot lizard is? Okay, so a lot lizard is code in trucker language for the ladies of the night. You know, the ladies that provide warmth and comfort for a fee. And they used to be all over the place, and it was a real pain, because after you've been driving 10-11 hours, they would come knocking on your door every so often. If it wasn't one girl, it'd be another. Then the other one would come back, knock on your door again. Hey baby, you need company, and all this other stuff. Severely irritating, because you just wanted to get some rest. You wanted to get some sleep. You had another 1,000 miles to drive. So you didn't want to deal with that, but they're not out here anywhere near as often as they used to be. In Houston this past week, one of them came knocking on my door. I was already awake. I hadn't gone to sleep yet, but they came knocking on the door. And surprisingly enough, she looked healthy, because the ones that have been knocking lately, oh my God. Listen, there were a couple of places where they knocked on the door, and I started looking around to see if I saw lights and cameras and stuff like that from a movie set, because I was swearing to God that she was an extra from what's that series? The Walking Dead. I thought she was one of the zombies. I thought she was one of the zombies. I thought she was one of the extras. So I'm looking around and see, whoa, where are the others? Maybe I could be an extra in this. Maybe I could be one of those guys that get bit by a zombie or something. But no, it was a lot lizard. It was crazy. She looked malnutritious, man. She really looked. I don't know, Nikki. I don't know who's touching women like that. But I'll tell you what, you better be wearing a body condom or something, like 3 layers of body condoms, because those women are looking critical. Listen, I could bet anything that when COVID came, they didn't go near them. None of them were dying from COVID. COVID didn't even want none of that. COVID took one look at that and said, oh, hell no. She's liable to kill us. They weren't getting COVID. I'm telling you right now. Dallas has them. Houston, I just discovered, has them. Memphis, Tennessee got them. But they used to be all over the place, man. All over the place. You know what? I forgot. I didn't finish telling Nikki the story. And I forgot what the story was before she left to answer the phone. So when we arrived, to New York, it was a challenge for my father. More for my father than anyone else. My father was not a happy camper. He didn't like the way society was. I was talking about Brooklyn or the Bronx? Shots, I think, is from Brooklyn. I was in the Bronx. Bronx and Harlem. Harlem was interesting too. Yeah. Because Harlem, you know. Oh, okay, yeah. So I saw my parents. You heard? Shots is repping. Shots is repping. Yeah. Matter of fact, in the clubs, like the area, 1018, stuff like that, when you used to go there, a lot of people used to shout out Brooklyn. Brooklyn's in the house. Go Brooklyn. Go Brooklyn. That became very popular. Probably because of the rappers from Brooklyn. All our rappers from the Bronx, they either got locked up or unalived, so there was nothing to cheer about there. But I always saw my parents as equals because of the way I was brought up in my home. So I think I mentioned it before, but I always saw them as equals. And I know that there's back home, you know, the man was the head of the household, and that's who ran the show. But not in my house. In my house, both my parents ran the show. They both had equal say. They both opined on whatever. Was your dad just like your mom, going from relying on him to making so much money? Not the money part, but he did complain that he would complain often that women were too liberal here in the United States. My mom used to get sassy, okay? My mom used to say some stuff, okay, that I think had she been a man, I think my dad would have just, he would have invited her to a fight or something. But my mom, but she was like that back home too, so it's not like, no, it wasn't about the money. It was about, because my dad, he had no problem, having my mom make arrangements to pay for stuff for him. He didn't have a problem with that. But I never heard him make reference to the fact that she was making more because of that. She thought she was no. I never heard him say that. And let me tell you something. These people were at each other's throat every day. Every day they were at each other's throat, back and forth like crazy. One morning I'm sitting at the breakfast table, and my dad is usually reading his newspaper, and I catch him looking over the paper like this, like he's looking for his moment. My mom has got her back to him because she's cooking breakfast, and I got my back to my mom, but I'm facing my dad. But I'm looking at my dad. I see the gestures that he's making. I know he's getting ready for something. He's ready to start a fight with her. And sure enough, my mom was talking, I guess trying to have a conversation with him. And out of the blue, my father says, you know, her name is Rose. Her name was Rose. He would tell her, hey, Rose, why don't you just shut up? That would set it off, of course. You know, as highly disrespectful. So, man, she would throw that serving spoon inside the pot. What the hell did you just say? Did you just tell me to shut up? And he would have that sly ass little smirk on his face, like those badass little kids. And he would say, Rose, come on now. Why are you getting all... You gonna disrespect me like that in front of your son? Is that the example you want to set for your son? Telling me to shut up? And he had that crazy ass smirk on his face. And then out of the blue, he said, you know, Rose, you know what? You know what you are? You're a mother's cunt. Whoa! When I had food in my mouth at the time. Man, I spit everything out. When he said that, I started laughing. I spit my food out. My mother threw that serving spoon back in the pot, pulled me by my shoulder, yanked me back. What'd he say? What'd he say? I don't know, Mom. I didn't understand a hell of a word he said. So why are you laughing? What's so funny? What'd he say? Mom, I don't know. I swear. I couldn't. I'm laughing because of his accent. He sounds crazy with his accent. No, that's not the reason. He said something, and he's over there laughing. He's smirking, laughing. Hey, Rose, leave the boy alone. Come on. Oh, leave the boy alone? Now it's leave the boy alone? Huh? When you get on this case, it ain't leave the boy alone, right? What'd your father say? What'd your father say? Mom, I swear, I don't know what the hell he said. It sounded so crazy, Mom. My dad's sitting up there laughing, going, yeah, Rose, leave the boy alone. Come on, let him eat. He's got to eat breakfast. He's got to go. Oh my God. They would be at it every day like that. Yeah, you saw that? Don't be a Richard. One day, oh my God. One day, they hadn't argued. They hadn't argued all day. And here comes my father again, setting it off. It never fails. My dad is the one that sets it off with some disrespectful nonsense. And he looks at my mom and says, Rose, you all right? Yeah, I'm fine. Why? Why are you asking me? I don't know, because we didn't start an argument today. Oh, I didn't start an argument? You're the one that starts the... And then right there, they just blew up. It was over. They had a good half-day streak. My dad couldn't contain himself. He just had to. And yeah, he messes. My dad used to mess with everybody. My dad used to come out with some creative insults for all of us, everybody, my mom, and all of us. And yeah, but my mom wasn't having it though. There was one day, some plates and some pots and pans were thrown right at him. Pew pew pew. Oh man, I forgot what it was about. My mom wasn't having it that day. She started throwing skillets. I think there was food in one of them. I hope it wasn't that hot ass chicken grease. My dad was ducking and taking cover. Rose, what are you doing? BB bing! It's like, oh my God. I gotta get out of here before I get hit. Yeah, my mother was literally born right across the street from my father. Literally born. So my dad has known my mother all of her life. All of her life. Right across the street. They lived right across the street from each other. Born right across the street from each other. What? Yeah. So my mom was the first to go. And then my dad passed what? 6 years later, 6 or 7 years later. Yeah. My dad just came back from, my dad grew up with his grandfather and a Roman Catholic priest. He refused to stay with his mother. So he went to another town. He was raised over there, got his degree, got his life all together, then came back and told my mother, yo, you mine! Straight up, just like that. Just like that. And my mom was, I guess, because she was a mama's girl. My mother was a mama's girl. Her mother was like her world. And she raised her younger siblings, because my grandmother was sick most of the time. But my dad came back to town and he said, yo, my mother had a lot of men courting her. And yeah, he locked in on her and said, nah, this is me right here. And nobody dared challenge my dad back in the day. I found out through my cousin, my brother-in-law's father, who's from the same town. He told me that when my dad was young, nobody dared challenge him because my dad would knock your teeth out. He was like the Mike Tyson of the town, so nobody dared mess with him. So when he came through, everybody stepped aside. Yo, this is me right here. Keep it moving. They got married. And that was it. That's all she wrote after that. She put up with a lot of stuff. Because that man, whoo, let me tell you, Lord have mercy. She put up with a lot. Not as you can see, you know, he would mess with her, but you know, she had her comeback. So it had nothing to do with that, but with the ladies, what? With the ladies? Listen. I'll put it to you like this. He was a man with status. He was good looking. And he was packing like a mule. Yeah. The old man was no joke in that department. The old man was no joke. Smart, had a high position in government. He had clout, he had connections, and he was swinging. Looked like a baby's arm holding an apple when it was soft. Okay? Yeah, the old man was no joke. I went down to the Dominican Republic. I went down to the Dominican Republic for vacation. My older brother invited himself. We didn't really care for that, but he invited himself anyway. So it was my older brother, my friend Rob, my friend Ray, my friend Miguel, and my friend Mark. Miguel had forgotten his headphones, left it inside my room. My room was huge because my family, my mom had a mansion. So my room was huge. I had my own bathroom and everything. So my dad decided to take a shower in my bathroom and everything was wide open. So Miguel forgot his headset, went back in the house, and when he came out, we were all laughing, carrying on, telling jokes, saying stupid shit. What typical 20-year-old men do. But Miguel just sat down and he was quiet. Didn't say a word. He was like staring off into space. Rob noticed it and said, "Yo, Miguel, you all right, man? What's going on?" And Miguel just shook his head, man. He said, "Yo, this guy's father," pointing to me, Richard's father, he's the king. When he said that, everybody except Mark and my brother bursted out laughing because it was an inside joke from, you know, watching porn when women went off to some kind of African tribe and these guys pulled out and those things looked like swords. They were so long. Yeah. He said, "Yo." And he kept repeating that. "Yo, Richard's father is the king." Like, wow, really? I needed to know that? It's my dad, you know. I really didn't need to know that. But it was obvious because one day I'm taking a shower, my mother just burst in. I'm already a teenager. I'm like in my junior year of high school. So I'm grown. And she just opened the curtains, just asked me questions, like the whole thing. And she looked down and said, "Oh my God, you all right?" I said, "Mom, what are you talking about?" "Oh no, I was just..." "What? Mom, come on now. Hey, don't do that." Because she's used to my dad, right? He's dragging that thing around, so when she gets to see something, "Hey, how's it going, black effing father?" Telling stories about my family. So, you know, here I am standing with something that is classified as normal. She ain't used to that. She's used to that third arm that my father's got. So she's looking at me wondering if I'm okay. I said, "Mom, hey, I'm fine. You know, hey, keep it moving, Mom. Close the curtain and close the door, please. I'm freezing. I'm cold." No, I'm not like Daddy at all. "Oh, okay. Okay, Brandon. How was the flight? Did you take a flight or did you drive up there?" Yeah, Source, man. Listen. That was a moment. When my mom did that to me, like, "Mom, come on now. Really? You don't have to be comparing your son. What the hell?" And she just walked away with a look on her face like, "Oh my God." Like, wow, okay. I feel a whole lot better, Mom. That boosted my confidence like you wouldn't believe. But my dad was abnormal in that department. You know, for years, we were going to the beach in Long Island and in Coney Island. And my father used to always wear these long shorts, like pants, like shorts, down to his knees. And I was embarrassed because I thought my father had no sense of fashion, none whatsoever. Oh yeah, Throwdown Thursdays, I like that. So for years we go to the beach and my dad, "No, thank you, Brandon. After we were done, I went in and had a cigarette. It was great. Thank you, Brandon. You always come through. You always make me feel a certain way." So all these years go by And did you see the black athlete who just won a race? And they have him on video running with his whole junk. I didn't see that. That would have been my father. That would have been my father, with bruises on his knees from that thing knocking into his knees. My dad was ridiculous. So all these years he's wearing these shorts to the beach, and I'm embarrassed thinking that he had no fashion sense. It wasn't that he had no fashion sense. It's that he couldn't wear the same stuff every other man wore. He had to wear long shorts. He had to cover his thing. If not, my mom would have been highly upset. But let me tell you something. That thing drew a lot of women to him. Even out of curiosity, it drew women to him. Just to see if it was real. A banana hammock. Look. My older brother that got his ass whooped by my dad, he came in second place. Yeah, my mom wasn't having it. You ain't showcasing, nah, this is mine. You crazy? Put that thing away. The crazy thing is that my older brother, who's in second place with that thing, he even gave his a name. It took 13 years for his wife to get pregnant. She didn't know what the hell was going on, so she went to the gynecologist to find out, do some research, because, she thought maybe she couldn't have kids, and it wasn't that. Gynecologist told her, listen, you need to tell your husband to take it easy. When he gets busy, tell him to fold his thing in half and go in halfway, because he's bruising your uterus. You can't. I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, the name he gave it was Spike. Spike. Yeah, he's yeah. My brother is, listen, between my brother and my father, if it were up to them, I think half the population of this planet would look like me. What? They were going out there taking all these women's temperatures, checking their oil and the whole nine. What? Oh yeah. Yeah. And the damn thing skipped a generation, because my oldest son, was in the bathroom while my nephew was in the bathroom. My nephew was in the bathroom first. He was brushing his teeth, and my son just walked in just to take a pee. My nephew came over, woke me up, said, yo, what's up with your son, man? I said, what happened? Did he do something wrong? What happened? Nah, man. I'm brushing my teeth in the bathroom. He comes in and he just pulls this thing out to take a pee. What the hell is that all about? What do you mean? You ain't seen your son? I said, well, what do you want, man? He came out like your grandfather. Dragging it. Okay? That's not really, but I should say that's the reason, right? It's not really the reason. The whipping out is the whipping out of all these different accounts. That's what I whip out. Yeah. Although I had a few people traumatized. I used to draw listen, in the prison when I was a correction officer, I drew this thing, right? The supervisor came in and saw this. He almost jumped out of his seat. So I got my hand. I got my hand near my crotch, right? Yeah, I was a correction officer. So I got my hand near my crotch. So the way my hand is positioned, all you saw was this, right? Hi, CH. All you saw was this. When my supervisor looked down and saw it, he thought it was the real thing. He jumped up, said, yo, what are you doing? I said, relax, Lieutenant. Don't worry, you're safe. You look big, huh? What do you think, Lieutenant? Should I get a raise or a rise? Huh? There was one time we were in the rec area outside. No, he didn't get to say put that away. He looked at me like he was ready to write me up. So I'm outside. Okay, so there are two members of the LGBTQ community, two males, very effeminate, and as they usually do, they're always trying to get some favors. They're always trying to get extra something. So they're always coming up to the officer, depending on the officer. But they would gas them, they would tell them how cute they were, all this other stuff. They would come up to me and say, ooh, Mr. Burns, if you was my husband, ooh, child, I'll take care of you. So, oh, yeah, really? Okay. So we're outside in the rec area, walking, and not the main rec area, smaller rec area. So all the other inmates are walking around. A lot of them have seen this because every now and then I would act tough with an inmate and say, what? You want me to run up in your cell? What you gonna do? And they would challenge me. They would say, yeah, come on in, man. You a tough guy? Yeah, I'm a tough guy. You want me to go in? So I would draw this on my finger. And again, I would put it by my crotch. And when I opened their door and walk in, they would freak out like, yo, what you doing? Like, nah, you a tough guy. Let's go. Let's do this. So they already knew. And as I'm drawing it, a couple of the inmates saw that and they started laughing. I used to point at them and say, yo, don't laugh, man. Don't laugh. I gotta do something. So the two members of the LGBTQ community inmates were sitting on the bench while the others were walking around doing their push-ups and all the things. So I sat next to the one that bothers me the most. And I sat right there. I kept my hand around my crotch like that. So I'm talking. I'm striking up a conversation. And Sweet Cheeks is trying to get real nice with me. But I keep gesturing down so he would look down. But for some reason, he wasn't looking down. I finally gestured to the point where he did look down. And when he did, he went, ooh, child. So he went to the other one and said, oh my God. And I heard him talking under his breath saying, look, Mr. Burns got his thing out. And the other one said, what? No, sir. He says, yeah, he got his thing out. And then he leaned back so the other one would look. And when the other one looked, he went, ooh, yes, he does. Oh, God. And then he told the other one, tell him to pull the skin back. Tell him to get it up. Everybody busted out laughing when they heard that. Yo. Oh, my goodness. Super chat and I'm misbehaving? Oh, Lord. This is crazy. Oh, now I don't know what to do. Super chat is in the house. And he heard that crazy story. All right, well. Yeah, I was a correction officer for 10 years. I left after 10 years because that's right around the time that I was going through a really nasty divorce and my mom was dying of cancer. Matter of fact, as soon as she passed away, like soon after that, I signed off and I started getting anxiety attacks. According to everybody, I started acting funny. Like, the type of behavior I had was risky. I was you know, I don't know. I guess I was that hurt that I wasn't worried about putting myself in harm's way or anything like that. Even one lieutenant came up to me and noticed it and said, "Yo, you're gonna have to do something. Seek counseling, do something. I'm getting complaints. I'm getting complaints from inmates that you're threatening them, doing stuff." Okay. So I figured that was my cue right there. I had to go. Yeah, I turned it around. It was. It's funny because I didn't even notice it. I didn't even realize it. Even when I started trucking again. Well, I didn't start trucking again. I was always trucking from '98 all the way through. The thing was that when I became a correction officer, I worked 5 days and I'd be off 3 days. So on my 3 days off, I would go work the trucks. And I guess everybody around me noticed it. I didn't notice it at all. I didn't realize it. But yeah, I did turn it around. Got better with time. But it was probably, I don't know. Can I call it the most challenging moment in my life? I'm not sure, but yeah. I'm a workaholic, I am. And I wasn't like that. I became a workaholic right around 2000 when I became a correction officer. Yeah. I came to the conclusion that I didn't follow academia the way my parents expected me to. I was in line to go to medical school, but that didn't work out because my documents weren't in order within a certain time frame. My mother was going to pay for my schooling, and my older brother said, "Nah, don't do it because your mom has done enough." Yeah, she put my brother through college, medical school, and his wife through college and medical school. So my brother thought it would be a good idea for me to just hang back and just and just work my way through school. But academically, I wasn't attracted to school. I wasn't attracted to school because I thought the school system was unfair. I thought the rebellious kids got all the attention, and they were too flippant with the standards, and I was disappointed about that. I thought that if you were an unruly kid, they needed to check you so that the kids that weren't unruly can focus on being or pursuing whatever interest they had, whether it be math or science or whatever it was. So I'm easily disillusioned by stuff like that. So I was on my way to medical school. The documents didn't come through. My brother said, "Give mom a break. She's already up there in age." All right. So I started going to college and paying my way through. I started out with engineering. I was doing all right. I had a 3.8 average in engineering. I was majoring in engineering, minoring in music. Got involved in the baseball team. Played second base for the school. It was alright. I didn't have that passion like my brother had for baseball. He was going to go up to the major leagues had it not been for the accident that he suffered on the pitcher's mound, where he got hit in the face with a line drive and suffered a detached retina and went into a coma. Had it not been for that, he probably would have been in the major leagues. Yeah, I missed out, but I was alright with that. Yeah, Tuber, I could be here for days with some stories, some family, just family stories alone. Yeah. Yeah, I was alright with it. It didn't bother me. I became a cab driver to pay my way to school. I was a yellow cab driver. Lots of stories there too. So yeah, Nikki, it didn't bother me. Really, nothing that had to do with money back then bothered me. I wasn't a fan. The complete opposite of what I am today. I was not a fan of money. Anything having to do with money, I didn't want to know. I thought people who pursued money were evil. But it was my mother that taught me that no, that's not the case. You know, my mother was a big. She was big on religion, and she schooled me on the fact that, you know, God allowed for people to get rich, like David, Saul, Solomon. She went down the list of a few people, so she said no. Acquiring money is not evil. Putting money above everything else, that's not good. She helped me understand. But then once 1996 came around, I was done. 1996 came around and I was done. Complete turnaround. Or at least my pursuit became more intentional, and it had to do with money. So I'm on I-91 in Connecticut, driving, and I hear an infomercial talking about how to get into the stock market by just getting one share of a company. One share of a company. I thought to myself, what? I can get into the stock market with just one share? How you do that? So I kept listening. If you wanted to open up a brokerage account back then, you needed to deposit a minimum of $10,000. In today's money, that's roughly around $66,000. Something like that. That's a lot of money. I didn't have that kind of money. So I dialed the 800 number. I got a pamphlet, and the pamphlet taught you and instructed you on how to follow through with participating in a direct purchasing plan and a dividend reinvestment plan. All I needed was one share, and this third-party company would take care of it. Right now they're called CompuShare. I don't remember what their name was when I first started. It was a different name, but they're now called CompuShare. So I get this pamphlet, and in the pamphlet they tell you what dividend reinvestment planning is, the benefits of it is, direct purchasing plan, how you pay lower fees. They gave you a list of stocks with boxes that you could check off. So So I checked off maybe 5 or 6 boxes. Companies like SBC Communications, Brown-Forman Class B, Coca-Cola, GlaxoSmithKline, and I sent the list in, and from each one of those boxes that I checked off, I got a letter. A few of them were handwritten. When I saw that, I said, what the hell is this? A handwritten letter? This ain't professional. Am I getting scammed? But I made the decision that if I didn't take any risks, there would be no rewards. So when I got a money order, I forget which one I did first. It might have been SBC Communications that I did first, and I sent it in, figuring, well, I forget how much it was, $27, $30-something, I forget how much it was, but that included the fee, the transaction fee, and all that other good stuff. And I wasn't expecting anything. I thought maybe I was testing it to see if it was a scam or not, but sure enough, 2 weeks later, an actual stock certificate came through in the mail. So I took it to the bank to see if the bank manager can help me figure out whether it was real or not. And sure enough, they said, yeah, this is an actual stock. Where'd you get it? None of your business. So, with that stock, I got some more paperwork in order to register with this third-party brokerage, CompuShare. And this third-party brokerage, they would send me statements, account statements every month. And on the bottom of the statement, there'd be a part where you tear off. And the part where you tear off, you can also send a check or a money order so that you could purchase more stock directly through that third-party brokerage. Now, the awesomest thing of it is that they will buy as much as your money can buy. Let me explain. If you wanted stock from a company and the shares are doing good, Lily, unless you were asking somebody else. The stock costs $20, but you only had $10 to send in. Well, that third-party brokerage will buy half a share, which was amazing, which was something that wasn't really practiced. If you dealt directly with a broker, the broker could only buy, or would only buy, whatever amount that can be bought with whatever you sent. If I wanted that $20 share with just $10, they wouldn't be able to or wouldn't want to buy it. But with this third-party ComputerShare, they would buy fractional shares, and I would get the dividend off that fractional share. So if that $20 stock paid a 20-cent dividend, because I only had $10, I would get, what did I say, 20-cent dividend? Yeah. So with that $10 stock, I would get 10 cents because it's half. So I would still get a dividend from that share, from that half a share, which was awesome, which was amazing. So I thought this was amazing, and I really thought I was a big shot now, because now I actually own stock. So I really felt like I was something now. Like I was part of the wealthy class now because I own stock. Nobody in the hood owns stock. I did though, but it was through this third-party direct purchasing plan, dividend reinvestment plan, and it was beautiful. Now, every month I would get a statement, And in that statement, it would have that part on the bottom that would tear off so that I could purchase more shares directly. And not only that, but they would take my dividend, whatever I received in dividend, and they would purchase more shares. So every 3 months I was issued a dividend, because all these companies that I bought stock in paid a dividend, and it's quarterly, so it's every 3 months. Every 3 months my statement would show the dividend payout, and it was being applied to buy more shares. And I said, oh my God, this thing is gonna snowball. I'm gonna become a zillionaire. That's what I thought, right? So I'm looking at my bank statement, and I'm looking at my computer share statement. Yeah, okay. Okay, Tuber Chat. You wish you ate less pizza, huh? Hey, listen, I know how you feel. And man, I don't know what they're laying down on the highway here, but whatever it is coming inside the cab. I think it's getting me high. Yeah, that's something that a normal person would do, right? So I'm looking at my bank statement, and I'm looking at this measly return from the bank, and then I'm looking at the statement from ComputerShare off of just one stock. I bought more. I mentioned the others. I don't think it was all. By the way, Brown-Forman Class B, that's the Class B shares for the company that makes Jack Daniels. Yeah. SBC Communication was bought out by AT&T, so they became AT&T shares. GlaxoSmithKline, I think that's pharmaceutical, or something related to health. So I'm getting dividends, and I'm looking at the dividends, and I'm looking at my account and how it's growing and how it's leaving my savings account behind. And the savings account was paying more of a return than the checking account. And I said, you know what? This is a no-brainer right here. I'm going to use my brokerage account. ComputerShare was my brokerage account. I'm going to use my brokerage account as a savings account and get a much greater return. And that money just kept growing and growing. A few years after that, was not 96, right around, maybe another 7 years, 8 years later, I'm on my way to get something to eat after making a delivery. I'm close to this plaza. I'm on my way to get something to eat. And I bump into this lady. And we get into this conversation. And of course, I'm trying to impress this lady with my knowledge of what little I know about the stock market. You know, I'm trying to score here. So I went ahead and I started talking stock market talk, not even knowing that she was a broker. But she noticed my interest in the subject matter and invited me over to apply to this brokerage. I said, what? All day, every day. So I applied, and what happens is you don't just become a broker, okay? First thing you're going to do is sales, and you're going to be doing cold calling. Cold calling. What's cold calling? Yeah, you get this long list of names and phone numbers of people that they want you to call to try to draw them into the brokerage so that they can become customers of the brokerage. So I was doing that every day, and then they provided me material to study for the Series 7 exam. Aloha. So here I am, and now I'm getting all this material to study for the Series 7 exam. This whole thing looked like Chinese to me, but I made it my business to study every day without fail. I implemented techniques that my father taught me for the purpose of studying. I would even read out and record myself reading, and at night before I went to bed, after I read, I would put the tape on, listen to myself, whatever chapter I was on, whatever section I was on. I would do the same thing in the morning. I would read, run the tape in the morning. If I was driving to work, I would put the tape on. This is when I met my wife, because when I was at the broker, she was the secretary, and she was even about to take the exam also, but she found it extremely difficult, which I found crazy, because my wife is super smart. She got her bachelor's out of a private college in Boston. She got a double major in 4 years, and I didn't get past my third year in college. And this girl, who didn't speak English, got both her degrees while having to do it in English. So she had to learn while she was in college. She had to learn English while she was in college, and got a double bachelor's. And again, this was another jaw dropper. I passed the exam the first time around. I thought my head was going to explode when I took that. That was a 6-hour exam. I thought my head was going to explode. I didn't know what I was answering. I had no idea what I was answering. I was just answering questions. If they look good, I picked it. But it turned out that I passed it the first time around, which is a shocker, or was a shocker. So now I went from hey, Racheloha. So after passing this exam, I thought, this is it. The money's just going to start pouring in. No, that's not what happened. That is not what happened. Now I became a glorified, what do you call those callers? That's what I became, a glorified one, because now I got a license. Now I'm a big shot. Yeah, okay, but I'm still doing the same thing. But now I can place orders for people. If I happen to encourage somebody to take some of their money and come to our brokerage and invest through our brokerage, I was able to place orders there. So now I felt like, wow, I'm a stockbroker. Big deal. I had so much more to learn. It was incredible. So I wound up going back to school. I paid $42,000 to learn even more. If somebody wanted to make sure your child was left with something, what would be the best way to go about it? Me personally, I would go, and this is not financial advice, this is for entertainment purposes only, I would go through a trust. I know people are hooked on this life insurance, but like I said before, I'm not a fan of life insurance. Not at all. You got whole life, you got term life, and yeah, I had to get a life insurance license in order to sell annuities. Annuities have an investment component and an insurance component. Why a trust? So a trust A trust is it's a corporate structure, and with the trust, you can pass on money to your children without having to go through probate, which is the biggest sales pitch for life insurance. The beneficiary, and that's if you die, that your beneficiaries get the money without having to go through probate and without having to pay taxes. But you could set yourself up to do all that without going through a life insurance policy. The best way to go is through a tax attorney, and they can help set you up. A tax attorney that works with accountants, because that's what my tax attorney is, and they will set up the type of structure that you need, not just to protect your wealth, but also to be able to pass that wealth on down to your children without having to go through probate. Yeah, definitely. Some people go straight to accountants, but not all accountants are sophisticated enough to handle some of that stuff. They know more or less off the top. Like my accountant was an accountant for a Fortune 500 corporation. So there are things that he knows that the average accountant doesn't know, because they don't have to do that stuff. Yeah, for people who aren't wealthy, yeah, you can do that also. Although the fees, you might want to make sure that their fees aren't so big that it tears you up. But these corporate structures should, like LLCs and things like that, they should be considered more as asset protection, okay? To protect you from people who have bad intentions and sue the hell out of you for no good reason and just want to dig into your pocket. It should definitely never be considered for tax evasion. Never should be and you might find there are plenty of accountants that go to prison for that kind of stuff, that try to take shortcuts that don't apply, that are not legal. But you can amass wealth, Nikki. Don't think for 1 second that you can't amass wealth. You can. Had you seen my account in 2007 and 2008, you wouldn't believe it. You would not believe it. You would not believe it. I'll tell you who encouraged me to go back to school and pay that $42,000. Well, you can use me to try to figure it out. I know a lot more than most people think about the subject. Now, as I was studying for my Series 7, I'm not a fan of crypto, Tuber. I'm not a fan of crypto. Crypto's a strange place. When crypto came out, Bitcoin was the first to come out. When crypto came out, it was supposed to be a decentralized coin. So being decentralized, the policies of whatever country wouldn't impact the price of that coin. The coins value was supposed to be determined by really the most basic economic principle, which is supply and demand. That was supposed to be the only thing about the value of Bitcoin that would cause it to go up and down. Now, early in its creation, I came to the conclusion that there's no way that this was going to continue on without being regulated. There had to be regulation on this thing, because here is something that could be used as currency that can transfer and be used to purchase anything without leaving butterflies, without leaving a trace, or without having any way of leaving any way to trace back where that money derived from. So I was thinking the underworld. So the underworld can use this currency to hire hitmen, to sponsor groups that could potentially harm our country. All right, Nikki, thanks for coming by. And so there was no way that this thing was going to continue without being regulated. But the whole point of creating this stuff was to avoid regulation, to be independent of regulatory bodies throughout the world. But that can't happen. And as far as I'm concerned, I think our intelligence community already has the means by which they can trace transactions by way of crypto. I think they already have that. It's just a feeling. I don't know for sure. So with crypto, because there's no regulatory body that governs the existence and the transactions associated with crypto, there can be a lot of abuse, and there has been a lot of abuse. If you go back to the stock market prior to 1934, with the establishment of the Securities and Exchange Commission, it was pretty much the Wild West, and that's how crypto is right now. There's a lot of pump and dump going on, and throughout the past few years, a lot of people have lost a lot of money with these schemes that people have with cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency also is corporations latched onto it, and that's why it's still around, because when you have a presentation to your shareholders, you can discuss how the value of the corporation increased without having to spell out that perhaps it increased not because of organic growth, but because they purchased a bunch of Bitcoin and the value went up, so that during the earnings report they don't necessarily have to claim that the increase in profits had anything to do with Bitcoin, and they didn't have to pay taxes on that increase because of the classification of the coin. It was a commodity, or it still is a commodity. Interestingly enough, though, on the flip side of that, if a corporation lost value, unrealized loss, and that's very important, unrealized loss, they can still claim it as a loss and get a tax break from that unrealized loss of Bitcoin. That's a huge advantage. That's a big deal. I don't want to get into detail about that because then I'll go off into the subject matter and it can get real boring real quick. And if that continues, I can definitely see why Bitcoin would stay. Now, because Bitcoin is included in exchange-traded funds, while they're in an exchange-traded fund, they can be regulated. The banks will love nothing better than to have that thing regulated. I guess somebody transferred something like $800 million in crypto, I think Bitcoin, and the fee was something like 8 cents. Yet, you think the banks like that? Banks are not having that. You're cutting in on their profits. So the banks will love nothing better than to have crypto regulated. And perhaps banks can go ahead and allow for transactions with crypto and be able to get a fee. But in general, yeah, I'm not a fan of crypto. However, that doesn't mean that people haven't done well with it. There are people that have done very well with it. I'm not one of them because I don't play the crypto market, but there are people that have done very well. There are people that have realized gains. So they bought at one price point and sold it at a higher price point. Because they sold it at a higher price point, they obtained a realized gain, which is absolutely lovely. Lovely. Yeah, it does give you that feel of stock market 2.0. And the banking community is definitely pushing for them to fall under a regulatory body like the Securities and Exchange Commission. And if that happens, it won't be the same. It won't be the same. Yeah, the stock market prior to the Securities and Exchange Commission was the Wild West. Bump and dump schemes were going on like it was going out of style. It was a hot mess. People were falling for all kinds of suggestions from people either had no clue what they were doing or had a clue and didn't have good intentions. So it was Roosevelt that stepped in and said, wait a minute, we got to do something about this. You can't just report just anything about a company. No longer allowed. Prior to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the regulation or the body that was supposed to apparently there were 2,300 car companies in 1918. Now he would struggle to name 100. Feels like crypto will be similar in the coming years. Definitely the Wild West for now. Yeah, it is. Yeah, you're right. It would be. Yeah, it'll be the Wild West for now because look, because it's not regulated. Elon Musk was doing it with Dogecoin. He's got his followers, and all he had to do was come on social media and say, the Dogecoin, this is it. This is the greatest thing to happen to humanity. I'm all in on Doge, when it's not even true. He's not all in on Doge. But just by saying that, he knew that he would impact his followers. And maybe he did get in at that point because he knew he'd be riding that wave. He's creating the wave by making that statement, and he knows he's creating the wave. So as it increases in value, he takes a wild guess as to what the peak of that value is and starts selling it off. And if he sees the demand for Dogecoin waning, just come back on social media and start professing some outrageous climb to Mars with the value of Dogecoin. And what happens? His followers start buying, pushing the value up. Other people start seeing the value going up. They come down with a case of FOMO. For those of you who don't know what FOMO is, it's an acronym, FOMO, which means fear of missing out. That's what the acronym stands for, FOMO, fear of missing out. So because they see that increase in the value of the Dogecoin, they hop into. And you can keep doing that over and over again. That's the type of stuff that was going on prior to the creation of the Securities and Exchange Commission. Now, the body or the bodies that were responsible for enforcing some type of protection against the public, or not against, but in favor of the public, against people who were doing that unscrupulously, were blue sky laws that every state had. So with the blue sky laws, it was the state that was supposed to, but they would fail miserably at that. They would get nothing done, and people were just getting taken for a ride. You would have people coming along claiming something about some corporation that could be an absolute lie, and it didn't matter. But they had stocks in that company, and they wanted to see the value of the stock go up, so they would just tell a barefaced lie and have people buy into it, and they would have no protection. The company would go under, they lose their money. Same thing can happen with crypto right now. It took a massive dip, and look what happened to this guy Sam Bankman-Fried with his crypto exchange. He wound up losing tons of money for people, and he wound up going to prison for it. Securities fraud, was it? Is that what he was nailed for? So some people want that thing regulated. Many don't. Because there are many people that have the gift of gab, and they can sell water to a whale. So they can convince people to buy into all kinds of different cryptocurrencies and just take them for a ride. And it's a fine line with the regulatory bodies and investing, because Um, I guess in this country, people should have the freedom to do with their money what they want, with some exceptions, of course, like engaging in some kind of illegal activity. But for the most part, if it isn't illegal, people should be able to do with their money what they want. And there are plenty of vultures out there, plenty of wolves out there that would like nothing better to not have a regulatory body that will get on their case if it's discovered that they took advantage of people. Because as far as some of these vultures are concerned, it's on you to educate yourself so that you don't get taken for a ride, so you don't get taken for a fool. Have your money. What's that part of scripture that says a fool and his money will part or something like that? So there are people that believe that you have every right in the world to be a fool and get taken advantage of. That's freedom. Man, this traffic right here destroyed my house. Self-education is great. Or if not, someone who will mentor you, someone who can advise you. Right now, this administration is trying to deregulate to the point where brokers don't have to serve as fiduciaries. Folks, a fiduciary is somebody who
obstruction detected.
Performs a transaction for your benefit by law. So if you call a broker and ask them, listen,
obstruction detected.
What's a good stock to buy? The broker should offer, it could just be one, it could be many stocks that he could recommend, but not so that you will come out a loser for the sake of himself coming out with one winner, his cronies coming out with it. You might have a friend that's stuck with a stock that he's got rid of because he knows that it's been trending downward and he doesn't see when it will stop trending down. And a client might call up the broker, and the broker might help his friend out so that he can get rid of his stocks that are not performing well anymore. As a fiduciary, you're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to be doing things in the best interest of the client, but without regulatory body to make sure, or without the regulation in place, you wouldn't know. You're hoping that your broker will be a person of good moral standing and will do something for your benefit, not the benefit of himself or anyone else. Well, let's see what happens. See, when it comes to the stock market, Warren Buffett is one of my heroes. He started at age 11. And just discipline and consistency. There he is now, 6th wealthiest person in the world. worst decisions when it comes to their money because of their emotions. Gotta figure out a way to suppress it or detach from it. Suppress from your emotions or detach from it. Accept. Even in business. Sometimes you're gonna suffer a loss. With that loss, you should allow your emotions to try to do something to make up for that loss. That will put you in an even deeper loss. Which is a mistake a lot of people do when it comes to trading. There's a distinction between trading and investing. Investing is long term. While trading is and when you trade, pay higher taxes when you trade, as opposed to less taxes when you short-term capital gains, long-term capital gains. You buy a stock today, not to for more than a year. Sell it at a profit. Hey, here on this channel, right now, it's on this line. We're seeing it later on. You'll be paying anywhere from 15% to 20% in taxes. 20% is for higher. Buy a stock today. A week from now, a day from now, hour from now, under a year from now, at a profit, you're paying short-term capital gains. You're paying whatever tax bracket, pay your income now. That's what you're doing. So if you're going to be active with your account, you're going to pay more taxes. That's the deal, y'alls. Yeah, I'm gonna hop off this live now. Very grateful. I think I've reached influencer status on the likes. I got 11 likes. Makes me content creator. Influencer status. Thank you. Thank you to the chat. I'm happy that you showed up while I was here. I'm happy you showed up when you did. Because prior to you showing up, yeah, don't go back to hear that stuff, okay? I gotta go get some soap right now. But thanks again. Thanks everybody for coming in. This time I had a good time. Yeah, see, I was gonna say something at the opening. I'm gonna let it go. Super chat is here. I gotta behave myself. So everybody stay fresh.